And we're back. Hey guys, it's Cece,
Jason.
and we're here to give you an update here coming into the fall. We're looking into October and kind of addressing some of the seasonal changes that are happening that we're seeing in real estate and that we're seeing in the mortgage markets. So, what do you feel like is happening seasonally for you in the mortgage world?
In the mortgage world, right now, heading into this Q4 holiday shopping retail season, rates are up. Yeah, rates are up since the Fed announcement about a month ago. Rates have slowly ticked up, almost every week, slightly a little bit higher. This is kind of to be expected, though. Mortgage rates are heavily influenced by how the economy is doing. And businesses are ramping up for holiday spending. They're hiring new people, they're getting more inventory, there's more people shopping, spending money. And the more people are shopping and spending money, the worse mortgage rates get.
Well, when we say worse, what are we talking?
Uh, from the relative lows when the Fed did their announcement to today, rates on average for a 30-year fixed rate have gone up about 0.5%.
Okay.
Yeah, about a 0.5%, and we're kind of starting to level off right now. But yeah, it's about a 0.5% over the last month or so.
Okay. And then, given that that's where we are now, what do you see as like maybe the biggest question that people have right now, given the time of year that we're in?
Should we wait for the election? Yeah, a lot of
Ooh.
people asking, should I wait till after the election? That rates are going to come down after the election, right? No, maybe.
How much does an election like election season impact mortgage rates?
I don't think there's data to support that.
Ooh.
No, I mean it's a good talking point, but no, I mean we have an election, a presidential election like this, what, every 4 years? The last time was COVID. So that's an outlier that doesn't make a good data point. Before that, it was kind of normal times, 2016, but 2012, we're on the way out of a housing crisis. 2008, the middle of a housing crisis. Like, there's not enough like relative data to say that, oh, elections give you better mortgage rates. There's just not enough data to say that. I think though, what might coincidentally line up around the same time, the beginning of November, we will be halfway through the holiday shopping period,
Right.
and we're going to start seeing, well, how our business is performing. And if businesses are performing poorly, well, that's going to be a good indicator that mortgage rates are going to come down. If businesses are performing strong, well, that's a good indicator rates are going to stay where they're at. As you get further in December, more data. January is, I think, where you're going to get the bulk of your information, where you're going to really hopefully have the biggest rate drops, because we're going to have a full holiday season of shopping behind us. And hopefully that data says that people aren't spending a crazy amount of money like they once were.
Got it. So the consumer spending patterns are going to impact what the Fed's choices will be on their rate reduction and or how it's going to be impacting the rest of the market as far as pricing goes into. You're saying kind of towards closer to the Christmas season going into January.
Correct. As we get more data to show how people are shopping and spending money, will then impact mortgage rates. And it's still too early in the season. Right now, all the companies are ramping up, which is why rates are ramping up as well.
Okay, so all the little flyers about who you should vote for and what you're voting for are not as impactful as the dollars you might be spending on what's coming up November and December.
Businesses have a lot more influence, yeah.
Okay.
Right
Okay.
now, right now. I mean, years in the future, perhaps. But right now, no.
So if we're waiting to find out what happens with the election, you're saying that essentially the mortgage market's not depending on that data.
Not in the immediate future, no. I mean, if someone got elected president, they're not president for another few months. They can't even enact policy. So anything that happens will not really materialize for months and months and months into the future. So no, that's not going to impact us anytime soon.
Got it. Okay. So that's where we are with the mortgage side of things as far as going into the seasonality shift coming into October, going into November, going into your holiday shopping season. But I think on the other side, it's a little bit different story for us because we're cooling off of summer in the real estate market. So I think for the buyer side, whether they're paying attention to what the interest rates are, how affordability is being impacted, it's going to be a little bit of a different conversation on this side. Because on the real estate side, usually in the summer we'll have our peak season. We'll cool off somewhere around September. We'll say Labor Day, kids go back to school, things of that nature. Now that we're in Q4 full fledged, there's no shifts as far as it only gets colder after this. both in the weather world
You're talking about for the housing market?
and in the housing market. Yeah,
Okay.
because
Yeah.
we're cooling off of what's happening is the competition pool got smaller. So people who are generally in the housing market that are going to buy something, buyers are really ready to go until their kids go back to school.
Okay.
Then we get caught up with what you're saying about election season, shopping, home, personal travel. People kind of just take a break and they'll come back to that conversation come January, generally, right? And then they'll come back into getting ready, and then in the springtime it's on and popping because spring and summer are going to be our more busy activity, more open houses, more inventory on the market. So what we're seeing now, one of the questions one of my clients asked me this week was about offer due dates. And, we went to an open house. They're like, oh, is this an offer due date? And I'm like, well, there's a lot of the lists that you would have seen during the summer, let's say July, August even, that had an offer due date. If you saw the house come on the market right away, you got 2 weeks to put in an offer and think about it, get your ducks in a row. What we're seeing is because the buyer pool is shrinking, which means we're not seeing as many offer due dates. So if offer due dates per hot home are a little less, they're not giving you a deadline that you have to put your best offer in 2 weeks and compete against everyone else, meaning there's less competition. So if we're seeing less offer due dates on really prime real estate, we're getting a little bit less inventory, but also the buyer pool has shrunk. So if we're dealing with these two dynamics together coming into a cooler fall market, there's a lot less competition. There's a lot more opportunity. However, it's going to depend on the house.
So for a property that's on the market right now, and you're a buyer looking to buy that property, you're less likely to see properties with offer due dates right now.
I would say the houses that have offer due dates still, even into, and that might still coming into the fall and winter, are going to be like the hot homes that are dialed in. So these are going to be the most desirable neighborhoods, the most desirable square footage, the most desirable bedroom count that are in those prime time locations, and it's got the yard. Okay. It's got the remodeled kitchen. It's like the gems that everyone wants. Those are going to be what we call the hot homes. And on the algorithms, when you're looking online, it will tell you if it's a hot home.
Okay.
Basically, if you, me, and everybody over here has the same search, we're looking for a 3-bedroom, 2-bath in this school district with a garage and a backyard. Once that gets notified to everyone who has the same search, if there's a certain amount of people that see it right when it pops off, it's a hot home.
And so with the hot home, the seller can easily enforce an offer due dates.
Yeah.
Because everyone's coming to them anyways, they can command that due date.
Yes, and I want to be clear on what this property looks like, right? We're giving you an archetype. So this particular seller has the curb appeal. They spent money on the landscaping. They've got staging. There's a remodel. There's excellent photos. There's video. It's prime time. They've done a very good job positioning that property.
Staged and everything.
All to the nines. We're not talking about the haunted house in October that is real dusty and still has grandma's furniture. That is not a hot home. That will be on Scariest Homes of America. Different show.
Different show.
But if you're still dialed in and that piece of property, again, it's got to hit those hot school district. It's got all the things that's on everyone's wish list. That home will still merit an offer due date. We just went to go see one that has an offer due date 14 days afterwards. It's not uncommon. It's less common during this time of year. But if you want something that's very specific, you're going to, it's a premium product. So you're going to be in competition for people who want premium products versus houses like one we were looking at earlier that have been on the market for a little while. Sellers in Q4 generally have an objective to sell that's not necessarily top dollar price. Because if you want to sell top dollar price,
do it in the
spring or summer, that's when all the competition is out to be battling against these offer due dates where you might be one of 13 offers and the seller gets to pick and choose. Right now, we're coming into the fall, in the winter time. There's not as many options. Buyers have cooled off, but it's a great opportunity for buyers that if you're ready in this season, this is a great deal season when you're not competing against everyone. The sellers have a motive to move more urgently than they would have if they listed spring or summer.
So would you say the properties that do not have a list or offer due date right now, that they're not going to be competitive then?
I'm not going to say they're not going to be competitive. It's smart marketing. Because if you have a great product and you put an offer due date in, you're expecting everyone to throw all their offers, all their money on you on this day at this time. So if the same house does not have one, they're playing a different strategy game. Because what happens is, if you have a great house and you have that offer due date and no offers come in.
No offers come in by that due date.
It's been so many days. It's gorgeous. She's hot. It's got parking. No one offered on it on the due date at that time. Now the sellers might be at a disadvantage of, Well, everyone knew you had an offer due date and you didn't get any offers. So now it's looking like there might be an opportunity to see if there's a price conversation to be had. But on the other hand, if you know that you're coming into a cooler market and you don't have an offer due date, there's not pressure for everyone to throw their money at you, but it doesn't mean you're not going to get a great offer. However, the days on market increase. So you might see homes a little bit longer than 20, 30, 40
Shouldn't
days.
days on market be longer right now anyways because people are traveling and busy with holidays and family and everything anyways?
Yeah, our buyer pool has been constricted. People got other things going on. It's now at the top of the priority list maybe for next year, and maybe they're in your camp where they're waiting to see what happens with the election and they're just going to cool off until the next year comes around and they'll be ready to buy again.
Okay.
So with less buyers, you're going to have less competition and less like price gouging per hot home. And even the hot homes, you might still get 15 offers. You might be one of 5
That are actually competitive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then talking about being ready to put in a competitive offer. Because if you are someone who is looking for that right home and it's got to have all these things to check your boxes, you want to be ready when it pops up, because it does happen that people will accept an offer for preemptive. Preemptive means that if there's an offer due date, that someone has decided to put an offer in before the offer due date. And sometimes those cases win. Right around now, if this is the season where there's less competition and people want to be aggressive, that's a good strategy. If you have the strong offer to back it up. And strong offer doesn't always mean the most money on the planet of Earth. Sometimes it does. Sometimes it doesn't. A lot of it has to do with your positioning of your offer, and also what we work on our partnership is how do we compose an offer that's competitive that keeps your best interest also in mind. If we're looking at, this is the dollar amount, how Jason, I call him, Jason, how can we make this a sweeter deal for the seller so we can position you in a certain way as a buyer to be that number one choice?
Well, sellers, they want a sure thing, right? So we're going to do the best to give them a sure thing. They don't want to waste their time with a buyer that might or might not be able to buy their house.
Right.
So we're going to help posture them on the financing side to be a sure thing, and that includes doing a non-loan contingent offer. A non-loan contingent offer just presents so much stronger to the seller that you don't have to worry about your financing. We got this figured out. I'm going to buy your house. My financing is solid. So we're going to get you postured to where you don't have a loan contingency. Also, a quicker close.
Love it.
Sellers, they want their money now. I mean, that's why they're selling the house, right? So if we can close quicker, instead of 30 days, we close 25, 21, 19, 17 days. Seller loves it. They want it. It also makes things more reassured to them that, hey, they can do it quickly. That means they know what they're doing. It's more of a sure thing to actually close. Now, in order to do those two type of things, non-contingent offer and quick close, it does mean we got to do a little bit more work on the front end. So if you want to try to stand out, not based on just having a deeper wallet, but having a stronger offer with just a more of a sure thing, a little more prep work up front. That just means don't wait till the night before to do your paperwork. Give it 2 or 3 days. I'm not talking a week or weeks. 3 days ahead of the time will give you enough time to have everything buttoned up, cleaned up to make your strongest offer without just throwing money away.
Yeah, and we've seen it happen both ways, where in an ideal situation, you've got a couple weeks, you get to know us, you get to know Jason, you get to know your finances in detail. When we're being fast and furious, we've seen it done maybe 48 hours.
You can.
It's possible. Are you ready? But you're like in a different place of being ready. So I think one of the things we want to leave you with for our seasonal changes is kind of like, if we're going into this bubble of opportunity where there's less competition, the rates are kind of staying where they've been. Like, they didn't go down since the last Fed rates meeting, so they might not have any fluctuation between the election season coming up. So if we're in that same market, you know what you have. And if the opportunity shows itself that the house that you've been looking for comes up between now and the end of the year, we want to make sure you have the ability and the resources to be able to make a move on it. So get ready, because that way, if you see the right thing, if this is your bubble and you have the flexibility to purchase a property between now and the end of the year, it's deal season.
What's the harm of being ready? If you're ready, that thing comes along, you jump on it. If not, that property doesn't come along, at least you know your numbers.
And that's a great place to start, because then you'll be ready when it's time.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, guys. We'll see you later.